Hello, hello, beautiful. Welcome to day 4 of the Incoming Papers Challenge. Today, we are talking about how to actually use your action file and how does it fit into your paper system. So, how do you organize all of your mail and your to-do papers with this one basket? That is our topic for today. So, as you hop on, let me know who you are, where you're joining me from. I see Joyce is already here. Welcome, Joyce. I'm glad to have you with us. Okay, so just as a reminder, if you've not already registered for the Incoming Papers Challenge, it's free. You can register over at the challenge schedule page, and it's running from March 20th through 26th. The link is also in the video description. So I hope you join us for that. When you register, you can get the free downloads and the daily emails and all that good stuff. So let's see. CJ is here. Welcome, welcome. She's looking forward to this Thursday talk, she says. Hi, Debbie. She's here. And Sue, welcome. Leslie, we have someone from Facebook. Missy is here. Sharon, welcome. And Sarah from Florida, fellow Florida girl. And Rosella's here. Awesome. Just as a note, if you are viewing from Facebook and you want your name and your profile photo to show up when your comments come up, then you can go to streamyard.com/Facebook and you just have to quickly click to say, yes, I want it to show up. Facebook just restricts those things. This link is also in the video description. So if you need that so that your comments will show who you are, then that's what you do. All right, really quickly, I can't say hi to everybody, but hi, Sharon, and so many people. Connie's here and Wendy. We've got a lot of our Path members. On Facebook, if you want to email me at hello@suzannakaye.com. hello@suzannakaye.com. That is the email that you can reach me at. And our phone number and email are also at the bottom of our website, suzannakaye.com in the footer. Then you can also find the phone number and the email address. Email is usually the easiest to get to us. Hello, hello, Chris. Good to see you. I'm glad everybody's here. James says, how long will these videos be available? I want to show this wonderful series to my mother on the challenge schedule page. As well as on YouTube, but the challenge schedule page will have all of them laid out with all the other information. It will be available until the end of next week. So that would be about the 31st, I believe, or maybe April 2nd, somewhere around there. So you've got about 1 week after the challenge that these videos will all be available on that challenge schedule page and on our YouTube channel. So I'd love that you're going to share it with your mother. That's awesome. Yes, if you want to share this video, please do. Share any of these videos, share the challenge schedule page with anybody you think would find it useful, and the registration, all that good stuff. Brenda says, I went to StreamYard. Yes, streamyard.com/Facebook. And that's how you'd get it. So Brenda managed to do it. I see your name. That's awesome. Okay, so let's dive in. Like I mentioned, we are talking about, with the action file, how do you organize all of your mail and your to-do papers with this one, and how does that fit into the rest of your paper system, right? Because we talk about our paper system a lot around here. And just to remind you, for your paper system, your foundation, the first thing that you do that needs to be strong in your paper system for it to work would be your new papers. Those incoming papers like your mail, the active papers like your to-do papers, that's what we work on first. And then we build our system from there. Once this is strong, then you can move on to making sure that your emergency medical papers and information have their part in the system, the important life papers, your files and archive papers, your special papers. And once you've gotten all of those parts built, you're done. You have an efficient paper system that is super easy to use and maintain, that not only you, but your loved ones can also figure out how to use. And you have all of your information at your fingertips. So no more paper piles. Imagine seeing the top of your desk with no piles on it, or your kitchen counter, your dining room table. No more papers to sort, no boxes of papers or bags of papers somewhere, and everything's just running smoothly where you can get your hands on anything that you want within usually seconds, minutes at the most. So that is our goal, lasting paper freedom. So it's one thing to get the system set up. It's another thing to get a system that continues to work and be easy enough to maintain. That's our goal. So with that, that's what we want with our paper flow. So our papers have to flow between all of these parts of our system. Now with the paper path system, that's what I created. That's what we talk about, and that's what I know works to give you that lasting freedom. With that paper path system, I wanted to show you quickly how the action file fits into there. Now, in the paper path course, we go through each one of these parts, helping you set it up one small step at a time, one at a time in order. But we start with, you've got your action file, which that's the first thing that we set up, because remember, that's our strong foundation, right? And then your papers flow from your action file to all of these other parts. It can go to your short-term files, your long-term files, your emergency medical folder, your Spark Life Binder or Life Binder that you create yourself. You use the onion method. I teach you the onion method, which is the easy paper sorting, and then it finishes up with any special papers, like creating a caregiver binder, having the tax worksheets, talking about storage of some of the papers that need to be protected even more. So that paper path course actually sets up each of these systems one step at a time, and it just leads you step by step through setting up those systems. Now, what does that look like though, right? So we have our action file for all of our incoming papers, our to-do papers, and this is what we've been talking about all week, right? Well, from your action file, you have choices where it goes to from there. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in depth, but this is kind of a broad overview so you know where we're going with this, right? So from your action file, either your paper ends up in your to file folder, and then when it gets filed, it goes into one of these systems, or you purge it. There's two ways out of your action file, because it's really just temporary storage. It's not permanent storage. So it goes to file or it gets purged. So from to file, depending on the paper type, it might go into your short-term files, which within the paper path system, we create self-purging files within those short-term files. So that means that it's a system that cleans itself out, so it won't overstuff your long-term files. So your long-term files are the ones that you keep for more than a year, and those are usually in a separate area. And then you have your important papers at your fingertips with either the Spark Life Binder, or in the course we talk about how to build your own important papers binder. Spark Life Binder, you can just grab it as a shortcut. But you have that you're going to build, which will have your important papers, and it also has those emergency medical papers for quick grab. And then we talk about those special papers, right? So the last part of your system would have taxes, your vital papers, original papers. If you're a caregiver, it might have a caregiver binder where memorabilia papers would go. So we kind of finish off with that apple or that cherry on top, right? So those are all the different parts of that system. So how do things flow between there, right? So let's first talk about how things flow within your action file. So a paper comes in, right, to your action file. Within your action file, we know we have our basic folders. You'll have most of these folders within your action file already. So you have your to-do folder, which we talked about. Let me see if I can get this higher for you. Wondering if I can prop it up a little bit more. A little bit. There we go. So with your to-do folders, this is things that have actions that would not fit into any of the other actions available. So papers can go into your to-do file. They can go into your to enter, to read, to scan, or to file. So we can imagine when a paper comes in, right? Let's pretend like I just got a piece of mail. So piece of mail comes in. I look, I don't even have to open the envelope sometimes because I know what's in it. Like if it's a bank statement or something like that, we know what a lot of our mail is. So I look at it. When I first come into the house, I think, oh, bank statement. So for me, bank statements, I usually just eyeball them to make sure that everything's okay before I shred it, right? That's just what I do with mine. Yours might be a different process, but if I just want to eyeball it, then I'm just going to put it in my to-do folder, because that's just an action to do. I would not put it into read just because I don't think of that as reading, but that you might put it into read if that makes more sense to you. Whatever your brain tells you is right, okay? So I put it into do. When I actually go back to my to-do folder and do things, then that's when I take it out, I review it, and then I might find out that, oh my goodness, there's a problem on here. So this could go back into to-do because now maybe it's a phone call I need to make to the bank, right? And then I make the phone call later on in a different to-do session, clear everything up, and maybe once it's cleared up, I want to keep this. because I want to make sure that I have the record of the phone call and what happened, right? So instead of shredding, maybe this time it goes in my to file folder because this I want to keep. So it can bounce around between folders until it gets to your to file folder or it gets purged. So shred, recycle, burn it, whatever you do to purge your paper. So once it's in my to file folder, that's when those next steps come in because this is temporary. So it bounces around until it gets to file. And then from the to file folder, that's when it would go to different areas of your system, right? So within your system, let me show you this really quickly. I have my paper flow chart. This is from the Paper Path course. So within the course, you would have this flow chart to refer to. But all of your incoming papers, as you see, first go in one of these. Either you're going to recycle it, shred it, scan it, possibly if you scan, or it's going to go into your action file, right? Recycle, shred, or action file. After that, once it goes in that to file from the action file, then it will either, you might decide to scan it then, it might go into your Spark Life binder or recycle or shred. And if it does not go in one of those spots, then if you're going to file it permanently, it might go in your short-term files if you want to keep it for 1 year or less. If you need to keep it longer than 1 year and you know that you need to keep it longer than 1 year, it would go in long-term. And sometimes there's special papers. So it might go in one of those special papers area. We talk a whole lot about how to make those decisions between short-term and long-term in the course, but it's pretty easy. If you're not positive you need to keep it longer than 1 year, it can go in your short-term because you will have another chance to review it before it gets purged. So you can't really mess up the system. That's the nice thing. You can't make a wrong decision as far as where to put something in the system. And then from your short-term files, once it's been a year and you review it, right? Maybe you decide you don't need to keep it any longer, so it'd be recycle or shred, or maybe you decide I need to keep this much longer than a year, and it goes into your long-term files. And then from your long-term files, there's really only one way out, recycle or shred, right? So your papers flow action file to either your short-term, long-term, or special files, right? And then from your short-term, if they ended up there, it would go to long-term or get disposed. And then the only way out of long-term is just disposal, right? So that's your paper flow. Your action file is always that first step, though. You have to take care of any actions that need to be done with the papers. Hopefully that makes sense. We'll talk a little bit more about how papers can move between each section. And I'll give you some examples of types of papers and where you would want to put them within your folders. Okay, so that can help hopefully clarify these folders a little bit better. And then while we do that, tell me, what small step are you taking today? What small step are you taking today to make your either papers or home a better situation for you, or make your future better? So let me know that in the comments. Also, I wanted to say really quickly hi to Brenda. Says, yay for getting her picture showing up on Facebook. Welcome, Brene. Lori is here from Cleveland. She says she's got to finally start using her action file and setting up a second action file for the dining room table, because she also has one upstairs in her office. Now, I would be careful not to have two action files, simply because now there are two other places that those papers could be, and it's very easy to not notice some important things. What you might want to do is leave your action file on the dining room table, if that's where you usually drop your mail when you come in or have papers come in. And whenever you're ready to work with it and do some of the to-do items, or whenever you're going up to the office to work in the office, take it with you. So that way you only have one action file, and that action file can go with you, because if it's small, which it should be, if it's small, it can easily go up to your office with you. But having two separate ones is probably going to overcomplicate your system. And remember, you're one of my Path members and course people. You know, we want to simplify our systems and make it absolutely brainless. So there's no question where something goes. The simpler, the better, right? Lori says that she has to shred, to communicate, and to research files. Those are great files to have in there. I love that, especially knowing you and all the things that you do. Those are perfect for you. I love it. Maria, sorry that it looks blurry to you. It might just be the resolution on the screen. I'm not sure. But if you need it, then email me at hello@suzannakaye.com, and I can always email you the PDF if you really wanted to see it. Sound good? Her next step on Facebook is to set up the file system. Lori also added a receipts file. The reason for 2 action files is that papers come in on the first floor, but the shredder, file cabinet, and work area are in the upstairs office. Yeah, that's why you would want to take it upstairs with you instead of having 2. Because whenever you're going to go upstairs to work in there, then you'll have your 2 shred, you'll have your 2 file, and everything that you need to work on, you can just carry right up with you. Joan says, requesting a credit report. When I filed papers in my life book, I realized I haven't done it for 5 years. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that's a good one to make sure that you do that, right? And those are something that you might want to scan or file. CJ says her small step is to deal with today's mail plus revamp the short-term files. She's time to purge. That's awesome. I love it. And CJ, make sure to look in that Paper Path course for the self-purging system for the short-term files, because that automatically purges. Like at the end of each month, it's automatically going to trigger you just double eyeballing those things, and most of them will be purged, which is nice, but it makes it so easy. Then you don't have to remember to purge. So try that out if you don't already have that one set up. Kazi says, today I will empty 1 large box of papers. Woo, woo, that's an awesome one. Love that. Yes, Lori says, good idea, Susanna, to keep the action file downstairs. I do bring folders upstairs to work on. Perfect. See, you're such a smart cookie. I love it. Connie says, the mesh file folder is too thin. I don't have room to hold the papers. I'm going to get a different holder for my active file. That's fine. Yeah, if you have one that's super thin, then that might be difficult. You want one that can hold your file folders, but still have some space, because there will be times where it's more full than others, depending on what's going on in your life. Yeah. Joyce says she's been redoing her action file this morning. Yay, taking unused folders out and adding others. Lori's small step is to move her action file downstairs. And Brenda's going to label her files and put today's mail in. Oh, that's awesome. You guys are just rocking this. Really quickly, Paula says that she's going to sort and file the papers on her kitchen table. Yes, I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about some paper types that are some common paper types and how to make the decision of which of these folders it would go in, right? Now, I know that you might have some custom folders that you've added in after our day 2 video. We talked about customizing some folders, but these are some ones that we'll talk about with the basic folders, okay? So medical explanation of benefits. They're called EOBs for short. Those medical explanation of benefits that the insurance company sends to you. When you get those in, where would that go? Well, think about what you do with those. Everybody's different. So when it comes in, think, what is my first step that I need to do with this? For me, my first step, I usually just want to review it. And like I said, my to read folder, I tend to just put things that I actually, fully want to read through. It's not a review. It's just a magazine or an article, things like that, right? Maybe my insurance policy. But I would put it in my to-do, because I want to look at it, to review it, to make sure there are no errors, right? So if you review it first, you might want to put it in to-do so you can review it. You could even, if you have a whole lot of things that are just to review, one of your custom folders could be to review. So you're just going to double check that it's accurate, right? Another option, if you don't even look at them, you just file them, then you could put them directly into file, right? So depending on what you do with your EOBs, think about what is the first step? What's the first action I need to take with this paper? So another example, an insurance policy. Maybe your new insurance policy comes in, right? So if you like to read through your insurance policy before you file it, just to make sure that nothing's changed, you don't have any questions, then that's the perfect spot for that to read folder, right? So you can put it into read folder so you can read through it before it gets filed. Now, once you've read it, so your first step, the first action that you want to take is to read through it maybe. Maybe once you've read it, then you decide, I realize that there's a new policy number. So I want to enter that into my Spark Life binder. That's the binder of all of your important information, right? So it's at your fingertips. I want to enter that new policy number in there. So maybe after to read, it might go into enter, right? Because you have information on it that just needs to be entered somewhere else. Once you've entered that information, then you decide, okay, now I just need to file this. If you're somebody who files it and keeps the paper copy, maybe it goes to file after that. And then once you file your folders, remember when it gets full, it gets filed. Once it starts to get full, you can take it to the file cabinets and it goes in either short-term or long-term and all that good stuff. We talk about in the Paper Path course how to turn your insurances into a self-purging file too. So it automatically purges itself, which is really nice. So we already talked about a bank statement, right? For me, I like to review it. Maybe for you, your bank statement, though, maybe you enter information from it somewhere else, right? So maybe when your bank statement comes in, you think, what is the first thing that I do with this when it comes in? Oh, I enter all of this information maybe into my tax spreadsheet, let's just say. So maybe it goes into enter, right? Business card. Somebody hands you a business card. It's something that you don't need to contact them right now. You just want to keep the information. That's a good one for to enter. Maybe you're going to put it into your contacts and then purge the card. So after you've entered it from to enter, maybe you just throw out the business card, recycle it, because now you have the contact info. And one of the nice things about the action file, it does not even have to be a paper that came in through the mail or came from somebody else. You can put notes to yourself in the action file. So maybe you scribbled a note to yourself. So you remember something, you wrote down maybe a password, right? And now you want to make sure to put it into enter, so you enter it with the rest of your passwords. Or maybe you scribbled a note to yourself, don't forget to buy more laundry detergent. Well, that note can now go in your to-do folder, right? So when you go through your to-dos, you'll also have your reminders to yourself, so you don't have all these little notes floating around. Your notes to yourself, whatever they're on, a back of an envelope, a Post-it note, can go right into your to-do folder. Now, my Path members, I will give you some more examples and more in-depth examples in our noon session. So if you are a member, when we do our noon session in about 37 minutes, then I will give you some more in-depth examples, and I'll be answering some questions, some of the common questions that people have about the action file and how to use it and just clarify things. Sound good? And then tomorrow for our 1 p.m., remember at 1 p.m. Eastern time, tomorrow we will talk about how to remember to follow up on the items in your action file. How to remember all those things in the to-do folder. If you're an out of sight, out of mind person, having a to-do folder where you can't see that there's things in there is probably terrifying, right? I'm an out of sight, out of minder. I get it. We'll talk about how to remember to go through your to-do folder and the easy way to stay on top of it. I promise there's a way that you might not have even thought of. We'll also talk about how to go through the other folders, right? So that this can be a streamlined system without taking a lot of time up. Okay, before we go into the recap, I wanted to say, check out the comments. Your small steps today. Rosella says that her action today is reviewing old and new incoming magazines and papers and purging immediately what is irrelevant. I love it. Yes. Sue says she's going to scan tax documents to submit to the CPA. Somebody on Facebook says, where do we find out how to set up the files? Great question. How to set up the files, I walk you through step-by-step in the Paper Path course. So at the beginning, when I talked about that Paper Path course and what all it includes, it's nice because I take each of those sections and I break it down into tiny steps that are usually 15 minutes or less to give you bite-sized chunks to set up your entire system from action file all the way through to files, important papers, and I even give you cheat sheets for your personality type. You do a personality quiz because your personality has so much to do with your files. Maybe you've had filing systems that fell apart because they were for a different personality type. So we need to know your personality. Within the fancy files section of the Paper Path course, you do your personality quiz, and I even give you, call them blueprints, for your personality type, what to label all of your folders, what order to put them in, all of that good stuff. So check out the Paper Path course. It's actually open right now for enrollment. You can enroll in the Paper Path course. Go to SuzannaKaye.com and click on the store. And you can enroll now. And if you do, then before Tuesday, the 28th, if you enroll before the end of the day Tuesday, then you'll also get the bonuses, which is the welcome webinar party, which is a great way to get an overview of what's coming up. Make sure that you start off on the right step live with me. And if you add on the Path membership for extra support, you'll get 1 month free. So those are the bonuses. So check out SuzannaKaye.com, go to the store, and you will have absolutely everything you need to set up all of your files, important papers, special papers, and everything. Lori says, I need a whole action file just for to-do items. Yes. And we've talked about how to, streamline your to-dos, definitely. But sometimes there are a lot more to-dos than others. I know that recently you've been working a lot more on estate papers and trust documents. So that can be a lot of paper. Sometimes there might be special projects that take up more. Yeah. Denise says, the blurriness went away. Yeah, it's probably just an internet connection thing. Yeah. Debbie says, do I need to stop it to file? I'm sitting next to the file cabinet, so I would just file it then. If you just want to file it right then, if you happen to be right next to it, go for it. But if you don't have time to file it right then, or if it's not right next to your file cabinet, then you don't need to. Or then you can just put it into file. So you don't have to file it right then, but if you would prefer to, you absolutely can. Do what works for you, because if it works, I don't want to mess with that. We don't mess with the things that actually work. But if they're not efficient and you're just having problems getting through everything, you're spending too much time doing it, or it's falling apart, that's when we want to mess with it. Cindy says, are you selling that folder? Are you talking about the Spark Life Binder? If you're asking about the Spark Life Binder, then let me know and I can tell you more about that. Lori says, I print a lot of emails and they either go in my to read, to communicate, or tickler files. I also have a to wait file. Awesome. Peg says, my small step today, add a due dates list to my to pay folder in my action file. Oh, brilliant, brilliant. This will serve as a reminder for me and be available to my son in the event he has to pay bills for me. I love it, Peg. You're so smart. Brenda says, thank you. You're so welcome. Absolutely, on Facebook too. Sharon says, purging old boxes of tax papers. Oh, that feels so good, doesn't it, to be able to shred those? The folder I was showing you. If you're talking about the action file, I don't sell this specifically, but on my website, SuzannaKaye.com, or on the challenge schedule page, whichever you're looking at, you can find my favorite things. And in that favorite things store, I have links to all of the different supplies that you might want to use with your action file to build it. So I do have the links so you can grab the supplies and make it super easy to build for yourself. Okay, I promised you a recap, didn't I? So really quick recap. We have our paper flow. When papers come in, they go in the action file. This is temporary storage, right? So as soon as the actions needed, whatever you have to do with the paper, are done, it either gets purged or to file, right? Once it comes out of the action file, if it's going to file, then we talked about the paper flow, right? We had the nice little graphic with where they all flow. So your incoming papers would hit your action file or recycle or shred. From there, they could go in your short-term files, long-term files, or maybe your special papers area. From the short-term files, when those are ready to move, they go in either the long-term files or they're purged, recycle or shred. Then from long-term, basically the only way out of long-term is recycle or shred. So that's the flow of our papers. And in the Paper Path course, we explain really well how things flow between and how it purges itself as it goes so you don't have overstuffed files. Then we talked about the overview of the folders. I gave you some examples of papers and how they can bounce between folders. So something that comes in that's a to read, you might find an action that you need to do that would have to, maybe it goes into do because it's a phone call to make. Once that's settled, maybe it goes into file so it can hit your main file systems. They can bounce around in there until all the actions are done. And remember, the first question you ask yourself when a paper comes in, what is the first step I need to do? What's the first action I need to take with this paper? That's going to tell you what folder it goes in. We don't care if there's multiple steps. What's the first action you need to take? And yeah, and I wrapped up with examples. And we talked about the Paper Path course and Path membership. It's open twice a year. And right now we have those two bonuses, the Welcome Party webinar and 1 free month of the Path membership if you add on a Path membership during checkout. So by Tuesday, if you grab your Paper Path course, you can get those bonuses. Also, just a reminder, we have the free public group hike this Saturday. This is something I only do a couple times a year. And it's a group hike is one of the benefits of the membership where we get together live and we just get work done. We do work sprints. I turn on music, I answer questions in the breaks, and it's a fun way to get a whole lot of work done, right? So 2 hours of fun time that's focused on whatever the productive task you have in mind. So check out the challenge schedule page. That's where you can find the registration for the group hike. You can find any replays that you might have missed this week, any downloads you might have missed. You can find a link to grab the Paper Path course and membership if you're looking for that, as well as in the store. You can find, if you wanted to buy the supplies for the action file, you can find a link for that. So the challenge schedule page does have absolutely everything that I've been talking about. All right. Well, you are doing absolutely amazing this week. I've loved watching all of your progress. Tell me in the comments, have you been enjoying this challenge so far? Do you find that you're having some good moments with it and it's been useful? Oh, Kazia, thank you. Kazia says, everyone, please click the like button. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. If you are liking this, give me some likes, some loves. That does help me out a lot so that I can continue to produce these things and I know what you like. So thank you, Kazia. All right, let me know in the comments whether you're watching the replay or live if you've been enjoying this challenge, and just thank you. Now, Path members, I will see you in about 30 minutes. We will go more in depth. I will answer some questions of some members who've asked some questions about specific action file uses, and I will give you some more examples of papers. Sound good? All right, and I see Brenda says, yes, she's been enjoying the challenge. And Paula says, wonderful. Oh, thank you. Tony says, you're my motivation. Awesome. And on Facebook, they are live. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I love you so much. I will see you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Keep taking those small steps with your action file. You are going to do amazing. Bye, beautiful.